Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hello.
How's everyone doing today? I am trying to get this shared. Miss Carissa, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good
How
weekend.
about the rest of you? Go ahead and type into the chat box. Tell us hello. Did you have a good weekend? What's everyone anticipating for this week? I know today we are going to talk about back to school stuff because I don't know. I'm getting Mariana off to college in exactly 7 days. And then, of course, I know everyone else is knee deep in back to school. And if you're not back to school, or you're not a teacher, or you don't have kids, it is the transition from summer to fall anyway. So definitely join in and participate with us today. Tell us about your biggest fall transition concerns or your biggest back to school concerns. Type them in the chat box. Miss Carissa, what are yours?
I would probably say the biggest one for our household is getting back into a routine.
Mm.
We really do enjoy, just the summer and being able to be a little more free flowing and not be so stuck to routines as much. Not
Uh-huh.
having to do, like sport, just not having to do all those extras.
Yeah.
So I really do enjoy it. And I always tell myself every year, like, I'm going to start a week prior or 2 weeks prior. And that's a great idea if you can do that. But I tend not to. So we tend to start like the day of
Yeah.
getting back into the routine. So then it usually takes about a week.
Yeah. So everyone's exhausted for a week as they adjust to the new schedule.
Pretty much.
Well, it is helpful. I mean, of course, everyone wants to enjoy their last week of summer. And here in Texas, I mean, school starts next week.
Oh,
So
yeah.
New York, you still have a few more weeks, but here it starts next week. So everyone's getting in that back to school mode. But let's talk about sleep because that is
Mhm.
really important just overall, whether you're headed back to school or you're just transitioning. And the truth is our schedules are going to change, right? Daylight changes. And so we want to make sure that we're consistently adjusting with that. So, I mean, I think you already pointed to it. So starting to adjust your sleep schedule little by little, of course, is really helpful. And the first thing when you get up in the morning, just being directed, getting outside and being in that sunlight is really important to really get that circadian rhythm going. I know we've talked about, getting barefoot, connected to the ground, looking at the sun, but you can do that with your kids too to help them reset their clocks.
Mm-hmm.
That is an important piece. I know I like to first thing in the morning get up, go outside, and I literally just bounce a little bit, get that lymphatics moving, shake out my arms, give myself great bear hugs, just right there out in the sun. And that starts my day by getting everything moving, getting me grounded, getting that sunlight, hitting my eyes, and that sets up the day.
What a great idea. I mean, I've never even thought about just going outside and doing this.
Yeah. Well, we often recommend that big six lymphatic massage,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Getting all those different,
Uh-huh.
lymphatic points, rubbing them, tapping them, rubbing them, tapping them. And it's just so important to get things flowing. And our
Mm-hmm.
lymph, like our digestion, it has, peristalsis to get things moving. Our circulatory system, our heart pumps everything through, but our lymphatic system requires that movement. And it gets jammed up. Those of you who are having trouble with weight loss, a lot of times that trouble with weight loss also comes down to that jammed up lymph. If everything else is in place and you're still stuck with your weight, then you want to look at that jammed up lymph because it makes a really big deal. So yeah, getting moving in the morning, even if it's just for a couple minutes, makes a really big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And then focusing on the brain and brain foods to help us, keep us alert and on top of things, really important. So blueberries, you guys, leafy green vegetables, some of my favorite brain foods, walnuts. And you guys have probably all heard before. If you look at the shape and size of the walnut, it looks exactly like a brain.
Yeah.
So that's really important. So getting those into your morning routine, and think about how easy it is just to do like a bowl or a smoothie, right? Where you can get
smoothies are big in our house.
Nuts, and even having that for your kiddos, just as their side, that still giving them something that they're actually chewing on, but giving them a little glass of a smoothie that has that stuff in it can be really helpful to get their little brains going. So what else, Miss Carissa? What other words of wisdom can we give everybody for back to school?
Let's see, routines. I think it's important to, like we were talking about, to spend time outdoors, even just doing things on the weekends, or, like a family walk afterwards, because I feel like so much is happening at one time that it's still super important to have that connection. Mm-hmm. Right? Because now your children are out of the house for 6 to 7 hours, sometimes more, if they're, playing sports, which is a really, really long day for them, and a really long day for them to kind of hold it all together all day long. So it's nice to be able to have that connection with them when they come home, because, and, I kind of have to pull it out of my old, when my daughter was younger or my son was younger, it was easier. But now that my daughter's entering high school, she'll just come home and want to veg out or decompress on her phone.
Yes.
So, just having her come hang out with me and connecting with her, I think is really important.
Yeah. I think overall, that's a really big thing. You guys, we can't understate the impact of all the electronic usage. Like, there is no way to understate that. And it's become such an automatic way of life. We're all kind of run by our phones, and we're all kind of like, oh, I've got downtime. Oh, I'm going to use the restroom. Let me see, look.
How on cue you're
on cue. But think about it. We're so like, oh, we're going to go use the restroom, and we grab our phone and we're scrolling social media, right? So there's all of this automatic that is consistently happening that's left us, disconnected from ourselves, disconnected from our families, disconnected to other things that are happening. You just have to walk somewhere like a store or something where you're online and people aren't even paying attention. They're looking at their phones, using that time to look at their phones. And so what we don't realize is that we're training our brain to be more and more distracted. And so that disconnection is really important. So, whether you're off to school, whether you're a teacher, or whether you've got kids and they're students, or whether, you're just any one of us, like, purposely turning your phone off and putting it away is going to be one of those keys to regaining control of our brains. And so we've become this like quick, like, we want every information really quick. We want to be entertained. We need the scroll for the dopamine versus actually connection with one another for dopamine. So we've got to shift and change that.
Yeah. Like a digital detox.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels a little awkward at first, because we've done it too. Yeah. And I have to say, I feel a little lost without my phone sometimes. And I actually don't like that.
Yeah.
That little device causes me to feel some sort of sense of like, lost or anxious because I'm not connected.
Yeah.
When, you can just go back, 15, 20 years ago, I didn't use a cell phone like I do now.
Yeah.
God knows how I got anywhere, because I'm really bad with directions. But I would print out directions and be on my way.
Back in the day, we used to print the directions, right? And then we'd stop at the gas station, because the gas station attendant always knew where to go.
Yeah, or buy a map. You
Or
know,
map,
I don't even know if people know how to read maps anymore.
yeah. Just the GPS maps.
Yeah.
Turn right. Yeah. Well, that's a big one, you guys. The the screen fatigue is also really real. So I know like more and more we're reading more online, we're doing more things online. I mean, all of this stuff is having an impact, but it's really important about every 20 minutes at the most. You really should take your eyes off the screen and send your focus really out far. Okay. And this is just to exercise our eyes, because the other thing is, as our eye health is deteriorating because we haven't evolved with all of this screen time. So making it a habit to get your eyes off the screen, focus all the way out, is important. So that's another quick tip, even for the kiddos. If they're studying for a really long time, they're working on projects, they're constantly glued to the computer, just going ahead and switching that.
Mhm.
Okay. The other really important thing too that we can train ourselves and our children is to take, even if it's just 10 minutes a day. And I probably feel like a broken record here because we've said this so many times and the importance of it, but just take 10 minutes a day to sit in silence and meditation, because the
Mhm.
act of bringing our minds to that place of just quiet is even more important today, I'll assert, than it's ever been before, because we're so distracted and our brains are literally being programmed to be like this all the time. I mean, most people don't even realize your screen that you're looking at right now, it is flickering, 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 flickering like this, ongoingly. We're not perceiving it, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. And that has its impact, on our brains. So disconnecting in so many ways, and I mean that in many different, I'm playing on words here, but disconnecting it's really key and pivotal to the future of our brain and our brain health, our productivity, our happiness, our satisfaction, our motivation levels. I mean, it's a huge deal.
Yeah. Even just what we talked about, what the screen time does to your eyes, but just all the information too, like all the social media, all the news outlets, it can really stress you out.
Yeah, yes, it's important for and most of what most of what's out there is not like, it's things that don't pertain to us. It's things that don't matter to us on the day to day. It's the same stuff repetitively over and over and over again. So the more we disconnect, the better off we are overall.
Mhm.
Carissa, the other thing I think we should talk about is food, because I think that's important when it comes back to school, and how do we make sure that our kids have good food, have good snacks, are taking care of themselves in terms of their diet. Because I mean, sometimes you look at these school lunch programs and your head starts to spin.
Oh, they're terrible. And then even in hallways, they have vending machines.
Yep.
And you would think the vending machine would have something beneficial in it, but oh, it's so bad. The chips and the sodas.
Sodas, they have sodas in schools now.
I, I, I don't know. I feel like my daughter will come home with something sometimes, and I'm like, please, please
I
don't
beg
get
you.
this.
Do not poison your brain. It's important.
But it's also so hard to sit still, right? When you're trying to learn, when you're trying to grasp knowledge, when you're just trying to get through the daily activity of school. It's a lot, right? Because you're a child and you're born and made to kind of just jump all over the place and be loud and have fun. And then you're in a building that says, do not do this for
Mm-hmm.
6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then to then now feed yourself with food that has all these chemicals and flavorings in it is really difficult. I mean, they call your gut your second brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So everything that you're giving it is now manifesting with your behavior, how you're feeling, how
Yep.
you act. So it's really hard, and I'm really surprised that schools don't do a better job at providing healthier lunches.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. So making sure that your kids have what they need for lunch is important, but it's no different. By the way, you guys, I know we're talking about back to school, but we all have to take care of ourselves and make sure that we're having healthy lunches as well. So it goes across the board for
Mhm.
those of you who don't have kids or those of you who are not going back to school. So that's pivotal, making sure that you plan in advance and know what it is that that lunch routine is going to look like. And I know sometimes we want quick and easy, and there's a lot of, I want to address that there is still a lot of garbage out there, whether it's organic or not. I always get my
Mm.
husband on this because my husband will come out with stuff and he'll be like, but it's organic. And I'm like, but did you read the ingredient list on the back? The front is just marketing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Katie, parents definitely need to be more vocal about lunch programs. It is a real big missing thing. But there are tools that you can use. I mean, Carissa, why don't you share with them about your favorite app to use when you're out kind of shopping and trying to decide, do I want to get this? Do I not want to get this? This
Yes.
looks good. Is it really good? Because you guys, Nutella says it's a wonderful thing. You could get this. It's an excellent healthy breakfast.
Oh, those commercials drive me crazy.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes. But I am the person, if you ever see me in the grocery store, you will see me scanning and just constantly putting things back on the shelf. Even in health food stores, guys,
Health food
it's
stores are
really important to scan in there
yeah.
too. And, or if I'm in the store with my daughter, you will hear us arguing about why she can't get something, and then me telling her the ingredients that are in it. And we're in the middle of the aisle talking about these things. But I use the EWG app.
That's the environmental working group, you guys. And I'll put it in here, www.ewg.org. So that's one place that you can go, and they have a food safe database that you can look at things.
Also cosmetics too, they have like lotions and stuff like that. And then I love the Bobby Approved app. I find his information really good as well. Both of the apps are very easy to download. They're very easy to use. I tend to use the Bobby Approved app more. I really love the layout of it. So you scan something and then it'll tell you if it's approved or not. And if it's not approved, it'll highlight which ingredients are not that great. And then it'll give you a description. So you can kind of like be like, okay, maybe I'm not so worried about that. That's not the worst, but they're still notifying you of it, which I think is really great. And yeah, it's really hard out there.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing that I really love about that is that you get to make a conscious choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because sometimes we're going to make choices that we know are not the best choices. But at least if you're aware of it, then you get to do so from a place of empowerment versus a place of surprise, and then you also can adjust the rest of your day accordingly.
Great point.
Sometimes we are just going to buy things that aren't what we would ideally love to have. And that's okay, right? We're not aiming for perfection. We are just aiming for progress. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when we do that and we get comfortable with our choices, it gets easier. But the other thing is too, is, all the scanning that you do, Carissa, it's actually training you. You're actually learning. It's empowering and educating both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're like, oh, okay. And you start.
Yes, that's what I love about it, is that it gives me the whole description, and then and they're short. They're not like these huge long things that's going to take me 20 minutes to read in the store, but it just lets me know, like, here's what it is. It could possibly cause, gut disruption or skin irritation or, so on and so forth. And I really do love it for the learning of it all too, because then I don't always have to scan everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really good. Yeah. I love using the apps, and I use them often because, like we said, it's kind of scary out there. If you're getting anything from a box, no recommendations really of even buying things from a box. But, when you have children and you're sending them to school with snacks or homeschooling or you're going to the park or whatever it is you're doing, sometimes you want that easy convenience.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't have time to cook things all the time as
Mhm.
well, because there's healthy snacks that you can make and store in the freezer and store
Yeah.
in the fridge.
Yeah.
And it's also great to include your kids on that. I
Yeah.
get better with my daughter when I kind of include her on
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. The more they're involved, the easier it becomes.
Because they feel empowered too. Like they get to make their
Exactly.
decisions and, it's important to them too.
Yeah.
So I think that's also great to do with them.
Yeah. Good. Good. You guys, the other thing I think that's really important. So we talked about screen time. We talked about setting new routines. We talked about, snacks and food and shopping. I think the other thing that's really important for us to address this time of year too is stress and stress management. So everybody is getting into a new routine this time of year. And so it's really the importance of stress management comes to the forefront because if we're not managing our stress, guess how we set ourselves up for the rest of the year? Okay. So your adrenal glands are super important. You want to nourish them. You want to nurture them. You want to take care of them for yourself, for your kids, all the way around. So starting off the year knowing like, okay, so every time this year XYZ normally happens, I argue with my kid about this, or we run out of we don't have enough control with schoolwork, and maybe schoolwork's not whatever it is for you and your family. You want to start to think about now, how can you head that off? Right?
Mm.
How can you manage that so as the year goes on, it's less of an issue than it's been in the past? Okay. Because it really is about it becomes about sanity.
Yeah. I think one of the big things, even just as an adult, and then of course teaching your children, is really just connecting with your body. Because
Mhm.
I know when I'm feeling stressed, that's where it's coming from.
Yes.
I feel it in my throat. I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my shoulders.
Yes.
So for me, just doing a quick breathing exercise to connect with my body.
Mhm.
Positive affirmations, the one that we have, the body, you are healthy, safe, loved, and healed.
Yes.
There are times in my day I will use it 40 to 50 times.
Yeah.
Anytime I feel that rise and I'm out of alignment,
Yes.
I just keep reminding my body, you're okay. We're okay. And it makes things a lot easier to get through. And then you can create a more supportive environment for yourself and for your family.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but my daughter can feel my energy before, like, just if I'm in the same room with her. She'll be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. And it's, that just stopping, taking some deep breaths, connecting to your body, that's a really important thing for us to even teach our kids or to teach
Mhm.
our students. Right. Because the more we can head off, we live in an anxiety world, right? Anxiety, when I was growing up, anxiety was not even a normal part of the vocabulary, right? People didn't walk around saying, "Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, I have anxiety." Oh, it's almost like we've also, the good and the bad, we've created this thing called like anxiety, and then we kind of fall into and play into it as well.
Mhm.
It's almost like a double-edged sword, you guys. We often create our own realities, but being able to step aside and be like, okay, I'm just going to take a couple deep breaths. I'm going to get regrounding this feeling of anxiety. Maybe my heart rate is up a little bit. Maybe I've got some sensations in my body. Okay, let me just quiet that down.
Mhm.
That creates a shift. And that is a really, really powerful thing for students as well.
Yeah, it's something you could do in the moment.
Exactly.
Because I'm a huge advocator of exercise too.
Yep.
Even when I don't want to do it, when I do it, I feel so relaxed and relieved and like a good tired.
Yeah.
Um, but you can't always go for a run or go take a yoga class in the middle of your day.
Yeah.
So doing other things like the breathing exercise is just super quick, super easy. You could pull up a video on YouTube if you'd like it guided. Otherwise, you could just do it on your own.
Yeah. The other thing I think is really important to point out here, and this is for our kids and for us as adults, is like watch your schedule. There is no need to overschedule.
Mhm.
Find out what's most important and then say no to those other things. Like there are times I've got to be mindful, like, you know what? Today, it's Saturday. I'm not going to open my computer. Right? We need to have that downtime. We need to have that space to really disconnect so that we can replenish ourselves to be able to continue to keep going. And that's something to be mindful because kids are pushed hard these days.
Mhm. I think that's a great point. Just to even learn how to be bored.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like when we're go, 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 go all the time, and then when it's time to rest, many of us don't know how to rest.
Now we grab our phone. We
Yes.
grab our phone.
Yeah.
And
So
now
we're
we
never really resting.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we get that sense of anxiety, sense of urgency, guilt. A lot of us will feel for resting.
Yeah.
So it's super important to just be able to be bored. When my daughter tells me she's bored, I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Because that's your time where even you can create. You can't create anything if you constantly or do something and something is always in your face.
Exactly.
So bored is good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Love that. And you guys, we are at the top of the hour. So, my invitation to you for this week is to be bored. Find some time to go ahead and be bored and go ahead and chat us back in the comments and let us know how your boredom went. So, again, I invite you to spend time this week being bored. Next week, Carissa and I are in training. We are going to be disconnected and fully engaged in connection with ourselves and we will not be on Lunch and Learn Live next week, but we will see you Lunch and Learn Live in 2 weeks, everybody. Is the 20th?
That is the 19th. Yep. And we'll be talking about understanding skin issues.
Oh, skin issues?
Skin health, skin autonomy, which is anatomy, which is really great. I think an important topic.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. All right. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Have a good
Bye,
week.
everyone. Take care.
All right. Bye.